Do you speak English?
I am English student.
How did you get a driver's license if you don't speak English?
Please.
Do you have a driver's license?
Yeah, I'm valid.
Give it to me.
I am well late. I'm go.
I don't care. You're speeding.
Yeah, I'm go soccer.
I don't care where you're going. You don't have a Florida driver's license?
No.
Why are you driving here? You cannot drive here if you don't have a license in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Why are you driving?
Now?
What language do you speak?
Turkish.
Why are you driving?
Why?
You don't have a license. This is not America. This is Turkey.
Yeah. Translate open.
Sure. Did you see me behind you?
Yeah.
Why did you not stop?
I don't understand. Stop.
Yeah, that's why you should not be driving in America when you don't know what it means when a cop is behind you with their lights on.
I am sorry. I don't.
Despite the fact that he had no knowledge about Mr. Kynek's qualifications for driving, driving experience, or driving abilities, Officer Mosley tells Mr. Kynek that he should not be driving in America if he does not know what it means when a police officer turns their cruiser's lights on. As this statement does not have a legal basis and is purely Officer Mosley's opinion, this assumption may have been a manifestation of an implicit bias against foreign drivers. Implicit bias is defined as the attitudes or stereotypes that unconsciously affect an individual's interpretation of a situation and their actions based on that interpretation. Many studies have shown that police officers' implicit biases unconsciously affect their treatment of the individuals they encounter in the course of duty. While much of the research and discussion of implicit bias is focused on racial stereotypes and associations, individuals can have implicit biases based on non-racial factors, such as gender, religion, sexual orientation, and, in this situation, nationality. Officer Mosley's assumption that Mr. Kynek was unqualified to drive in America may have stemmed from unconscious stereotypes based on his experience with foreign drivers in the past.
I don't know.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
What?
Open, here, let me see that. You are not allowed to drive in America if you don't know our laws and you do not have an American license. I was behind you with my lights on and you did not even stop. You are not allowed to drive in this country if you do not know this country's laws.
This statement does not comport with Florida's motor vehicle laws. Section 322.04 of the Florida statute states that a non-resident who is at least 18 years of age and who has in his or her immediate possession a valid non-commercial driver's license issued in his or her home state or country is generally exempt from the requirement to obtain a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle in Florida. Although Section 322.031 of the Florida statutes creates exceptions for non-residents who work in the state or enroll their children into Florida public schools. Section 322.01 defines a resident as a person who has his or her principal place of domicile in the state for more than 6 consecutive months, has registered to vote, has made a statement of domicile, or has filed for homestead tax exemption on property in Florida. This means that non-residents, including foreign nationals who move to Florida, are allowed to drive using their foreign driver's license for the first 6 months they are living in the state, as they will be considered a non-resident during that time. Once an individual has been in Florida for 6 months, they are legally considered a resident and must obtain a Florida driver's license in order to drive in the state. This is why tourists from Mexico or Canada can drive into the United States for a period of time without having to acquire a U.S. driver's license. Although Mr. Kynek may have been driving illegally if he had been in Florida for more than 6 months, Officer Mosley's blanket statement that you cannot drive in America without an American driver's license was completely inaccurate.
Let me see. Give me that. Give me your phone. Phone. You do not know enough. If you do not know that a police officer driving behind you means you should stop, that means you do not know enough to drive in this country. You are breaking the law. Do you have the registration? Vehicle registration?
Here. My passport.
Whose car is this?
My cousin.
Are they home?
Yeah.
Call them.
Hello.
Tell him to come here. Tell him to come here. Okay.
1 minute.
Do you know how long he's going to be? How long?
Yeah.
He's coming right now? Okay. All right, can you come out for me? Can you come out? Can you step out? Come out?
So?
Farther. I don't want to get hit. All right. How long have you been in the country? Come over here more. Come over here.
How long? I am 5 November coming here.
Huh?
5 November coming here.
Officer Mosley asks Mr. Kynick how long he has been in the country, which was a potentially incriminating question considering that Mr. Kynick would be violating the law by driving without a Florida license if he had been in the state for more than 6 consecutive months. It is well established through U.S. Supreme Court decisions dating as far back as the 1800s that the majority of constitutional rights, including the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, apply to any individual who is on U.S. soil, regardless of their citizenship or immigration status. In these decisions, the Supreme Court parsed the specific constitutional language used to determine the framers' intent. As a Turkish citizen on American soil, Mr. Kynick possesses the same Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination as an American citizen.
So I am English student. I'm soccer, play soccer, professional soccer.
How long have you lived here?
Here.
How long? 1 month, 1 year?
3 months.
You've been here 3 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you drive this car a lot? Do you drive it a lot, many times?
Yeah.
You drive many times?
I know my drive lesson. I don't know.
License.
6 months and finish. And I may go to my country. My country and finish.
So he's your cousin?
Yeah.
Cousin?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not allowed to drive here. You cannot drive here without a license. An American license is required, necessary for you to drive here.
Even though Mr. Kynick had not violated Florida law, Officer Mosley arrested him for driving without a valid license, which is a second-degree misdemeanor in Florida. Mr. Kynick was charged in the Seminole County Circuit Court on February 4th, 2019, but prosecutors dismissed the criminal charge on February 11th, presumably after determining that there was no legal basis for Mr. Kynick's arrest. The Oviedo PD conducted an internal review of the traffic stop and initially found that Officer Mosley violated the department's policy requiring police officers to know Florida laws and regulations. However, this finding was reversed after a hearing, where it was determined that a training deficiency may have contributed to the wrongful arrest. In December 2019, Officer Mosley was suspended for 12 hours without pay due to his, quote, unprofessional and demeaning conduct towards Mr. Kynick. Overall, Officer Mosley gets an F for maintaining a rude and condescending demeanor throughout the interaction, displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of Florida's motor vehicle laws, and for wrongfully arresting Mr. Kynick for a minor traffic violation. Although implicit bias is inherently perpetrated through subconscious actions and intent, Officer Mosley's statements were nothing short of unprofessional and inflammatory, and much of his conduct was arbitrarily uncalled for, regardless of whatever uncontrollable biases may have been at play. Officer Mosley's ignorance of the law largely dictated the outcome of this encounter. Instead of being patient, Officer Mosley chose to effectuate an arrest out of convenience rather than in the name of justice, and did so knowing that Mr. Kynick's cousin was on the way to sort out the issue. The fact that Officer Mosley was able to circumvent punishment for his lack of knowledge regarding Florida's driving laws reflects the growing consensus that officer accountability is a prevalent problem within America's policing system. There is no doubt that Officer Mosley's conduct was distasteful and contrary to the spirit of American justice. As for Mr. Kynick, I cannot issue a legitimate grade to an individual who lacks the societal and cultural context to fully understand the civil liberties associated with the Constitution. Unlike the rules of the road, constitutional protections do not operate under a universal framework, and it is unrealistic to expect a foreigner who was temporarily living in the United States to have a deep understanding of how the justice system functions here. Driving, on the other hand, does operate under a universal set of standards, and anyone who has driven in the past would likely require little to no effort to adjust their driving habits to the standards of whatever country they may be traveling in. Mr. Kynick was respectful throughout the encounter and did his best to transcend the language barrier that was hindering the progression of the stop. It was Officer Mosley who operated as the driving force for escalation during this stop, and, despite the language barrier and questionable arrest, Mr. Kynick maintained his composure and was ultimately found to be innocent.